Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. It's time for another Bleedin' Blue edition as we look at the NHL Central. Let's jump right into it as it was an eventful week for the division. Obviously, most of you know by now the St. Louis Blues went 1-2 on their homestand as they dropped a couple games earlier in the week before defeating Los Angeles 1-0 on the weekend. But let's focus on some of the other teams. We'll start off with the Chicago Blackhawks as they went 2-1 on the week, and they continue to chip away at the deficit that they led for themselves in the division to begin the year, and they have managed to really kind of turn themselves around and start climbing back up into the division race. Another solid week, as I mentioned, as they go 2-1. They began the week with a disappointing 3-2 loss to Calgary, but that was in a shootout, and they were really thwarted by the excellent effort of Brian Elliott with the Calgary Flames. So no disappointment, no disgrace there for the Chicago Blackhawks to come away with a loss in that one. They went to overtime again on Friday against New Jersey, but came out on top this one as they won in the extra period by the score of 3-2. And then the Hawks took care of business on Saturday with a 3-1 win over the Los Angeles Kings. They got goals from Patrick Kane, Brian Campbell, 2 for Artem Anisimov, 1 for Panarin, as he continues his hot streak to start the year. 2 for Marian Hossa. Jonathan Taves also scored as he rounded out the scoring for the Blackhawks. They've got 4 games on the docket this week. They play at home against Calgary on Tuesday. Then Colorado comes to town on Thursday as they have a couple home games. Then, like the Blues, it's a back-to-back affair as they have on the weekend a home-and-home against Dallas. They will play the Stars a couple times to cap off the week. The Nashville Predators continued an all-around awful week for them as they went 0-2-1. The 1 point out of a possible 6 was not how they envisioned things, but that's how things turned out. They got walloped 6-1 in Anaheim on Wednesday as the Ducks definitely took care of business. Their lone point came in a 3-2 overtime loss to LA in the middle of the week, and then they finished their West Coast swing with a 4-1 loss against San Jose on Saturday. The Predators got goals from Colin Wilson, Craig Smith, Victor Arvidsson, and James Neal. They only have 3 games this week compared to a lot of the division teams who are going to be playing 4. The Predators are going to stay on the road for 2 of those 3. And it's in Colorado on Tuesday, then down to Arizona on Thursday before capping off the week with a much-needed home game against Carolina come Saturday. Moving down south, the Dallas Stars continued their struggles to open the year as they are 1-2 on the week. And they have pretty much struggled to start the year as they only have 3 wins on the entire portion of the season. And obviously one of those wins came this week. So it's been a bit of an odd start to the year for Dallas as they just really have not been able to get things rolling the way that they did last season. They opened up the week with a 3-2 win over Winnipeg on Tuesday, but then the return game in Winnipeg was a 4-1 loss. That happened on Thursday. The Stars got blanked 4-0 against the surprising Minnesota Wild in Minnesota on Saturday, and then they ended their week with that disappointing game. That was a 4-0 loss against Minnesota, as I mentioned. The Stars have gotten goals from Tyler Seguin. He had 2. Patrick Eaves and Brett Ritchie also capped up the scoring. This week it's going to be 4 games for the Dallas Stars as they try to find some sort of rebound with their offensive ways as they have given up more goals than they've scored, and they are not scoring very many either. The Stars are going to be playing, as I mentioned, 4 games. They'll start off with a home-and-home against Chicago. They're going to have that home-and-home with Chicago, as I mentioned. The weekend, they'll start off on the road, though, to open up the week against Columbus. That game is going to be on Tuesday, and then they're going to play the Blues on Thursday, and that will be in Dallas. So the Blues are going to hope that Dallas isn't going to find their scoring touch by that game, because otherwise they're going to be a handful. Going up north now, the Minnesota Wild continue to be one of the hottest teams in the NHL as they are just absolutely tearing it up on both sides of the puck, and perhaps that is the most interesting thing that they've done, is they're doing it on offense and defense, and really, I'll admit that I was one of the people that didn't think that they were going to be able to score a bunch of goals, but right now they're towards the top of the league and definitely towards the top of the conference. They continue to be one of the hotter teams. Even more impressive is the fact that the regularity in which they have scored definitely this week. They beat Boston 5-0 on Saturday to begin their streak of 3 straight shutouts over the week as they won all 3 games this week. They took down Buffalo on Thursday. Even more impressive with those 2 games as they were both on the road. They came home for a 4-0 win over Dallas, as we mentioned. The Wild got goals from Jason Tucker. He got 2 as well for Ryan Suter, Jason Pominville, Chris Coyle, Chris Stewart, Joel Eriksson-Ek, Mikko Koivu, Eric Stahl, Nino Niederreiter, Tyler Graovac, and Mikkel Granlund round out the scoring for Minnesota. The Colorado Avalanche, I'm sure it's building related, or they have too many events going on in Colorado. Who knows what's going on? But I find it very odd right now that the Colorado Avalanche seem to be lagging behind so much in terms of games played, where they'll have 2 games in a week, and then 4, and then 2, and then 4. This was one of the 2 games. They went 1-1 in those 2. They dropped a 1-0 decision, as we mentioned, to Winnipeg. That one was at home on Friday before taking down the Coyotes in Arizona on Saturday by a final score of 3-2. Colorado got goals from Rene Bourque and then 2 from Matt Duchene. Obviously, both of those goals for Duchene and then Bourque came in that win, the 3-2 win. The Avalanche have 4 games coming up as they continue their back and forth with that. They're going to be at home against Nashville Tuesday, in Chicago Thursday, home against Minnesota Saturday, and then the Blues will be hosting the Avalanche come Sunday. We'll round things out with the Winnipeg Jets, as the Winnipeg Jets continue to have a mixed bag of results no matter what they try. They just can't seem to get things rolling in any kind of positive fashion, but they're not letting the negatives really take over either. They went 2-2 in their 4 games this week. They split it against Dallas, as we mentioned, with that 3-2 loss on the road, and then winning at home by the final score of 4-1. They then blanked Colorado, as I had mentioned, and fell to Buffalo at home on Sunday by the score of 3-1. The Jets got goals from Patrick Laney as he continues to justify his high draft stock. He got 2 goals on the week. Joel Armia, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Tyler Myers, and Sean Matthias, as well as Nikolai Ehlers, scored for the Winnipeg Jets as they had a decent week. It wasn't anything to write home about, but nothing necessarily that will hold them back either. They're going to have a handful of games coming up this week. It's going to be Tuesday. They will see Washington at home. Then they will travel to Washington to play the Capitals on Thursday. And then they will round out with a couple East Coast games, starting out in Detroit on Friday, and then at New York. They will play the Rangers on Sunday. So that'll do it for your weekly look at the NHL Central Division. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Comment, rate, and subscribe. But until the next time, I'll see you then.